back here again with another presentation here in the Issues Room, our 72nd edition. Volcano Shelton here in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This evening, jam-packed conversation. We have some bullets to cover to explore. Let me welcome Moses Sandy all the way from Delaware. No time to waste. Welcome to 72nd edition, the Issues Room here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and ABC Radio 105.1 in Monrovia.
It's good to be by Volcano. Another thought-provoking discussion.
All right, man. Moses, this evening we will be reviewing a couple of things, or a few, not the word couple, I hate to say that, a few things, or make it several if you care to.
Yeah.
First, we'll start with our trending news. Two things on the agenda tonight for trending news: the UP statement to the country today, and Zolizo refusal. He's not suspended. But let's start with the UP stuff because it is the most important one.
Yes, this was long awaited for Canada. The top story is that the Unity Party, the former ruling party, now led by the former Vice President Joseph Boakai, says it won't accept the outcome of the Lofa by senatorial elections because the process, according to the former Vice President, the UP, was marred by electoral irregularities. They say the process was fraudulent. The UP says it has no confidence in the Elections Commission and it wants the commission to be reconstituted. They said there was vote rigging. The Unity Party was not given the opportunity. They are quoting their poll watchers. Volcano, the party claimed that people were even selling votes on the day of election. UP says it won 4 of the 5 districts. And that's what confuses me. It says it won 4 of the 5 districts, but now the party says the process was marred by electoral irregularity. So I don't know how to reconcile that. But again, the party argues that report emanating from Lofa County says that one of the polling centers in Foya, the number of individuals who voted at the center, the number from there shows that some of the candidates got more votes as compared to the total number of vote cast. That's another flaw again the party is claiming. So maybe you want to look at some other aspect of what the party said.
Well, honestly, I mean, you've given a summary, but remember when Abraham Colley was here the other day, he talked about the exchange of monies on the day of elections at the voter, booths where people were crossing carpet and voting for Councillor Jallah and getting $20 a piece. People trying to cross the border to come back home to vote because most of the folks who live in the border towns go across to Sierra Leone and Guinea to fetch, living, and then come back home in the evening. And when they came back to vote, they were denied, to cross the border. So many things happen. But you and I know that anytime elections, especially in Liberia, takes place, it's almost seemingly impossible for it to be free, fair, and transparent. So many things happen. And then when you have these kinds of arrangements where the Elections Commission itself has not shown a depth of credibility with, corruption hanging over its leaders, and not much has been done, even though it is claimed that, I guess, the case is over. Yet, just the picture, the picture of something like that, and no action has been taken by the government of Liberia to ensure that the public can trust the process of elections in the country, then of course you will have these kinds of situations where a party felt they were cheated, party felt that there were you know plausible amount of irregularities, still come back
Mhm.
and want to contest or protest. So with everything being said, do you think that the UP has a case, and whether
Well,
it's going to go anywhere?
they are legit. Let me not say legitimate, but there are significant concerns. And take for example, one of the argument the party is making is that in the Vaughan era, the NEC carried out a voter registration card replacement exercise. People who lost their voter registration cards, uh, that part of Lofa County, they were given the opportunity to re-register. According to the UP, when it raised similar concern about or other areas in Lofa that were not allowed, people in those areas were not allowed to benefit from such exercise, the NEC chose to look the other way. That's what the party is claiming. And if that claim is true, then that raises a serious concern. The party also claimed that, like you said earlier, that the NEC was compromised. It did not come across as a neutral entity in the exercise. The party also complained about the high presence of security, national security officers in Lofa County. And it said as a result of that, people felt intimidated to show up at polling centers that impacted the turnout of people. That's one of the claims that the party made. So they made a number of serious claims. And like you say, the NEC is an integrity institution. In the wake of what transpired regarding the thermometers, the case hanging over the chair of the Elections Commission, Deirdre Brown, the way she handled that, the conflict of interest, that has drawn the credibility of the NEC into question. And if I were a member of the UP, like any other person, if someone who's supposed to be heading an institution such as the NEC, such person should not be someone that's we have such a questionable character because the NEC is an integrity institution. You can't be over there and people thinking that, hey man, we're not sure whether this person is going to do a good job.
But
So
you would think
let's
that
see how it looks.
the elections commission will do a lot of voter education,
Hmm.
because when you come to think about elections in the hinterland, and
Yeah,
Lofa County, after 200 years, is still an interior of the country,
of
and a
course, yeah.
lot of people there have not had the opportunity, you know, uh, to do stuff like this. And when you look at the presence of security force for a particular, you know, uh, uh, situation, most of the voters get afraid. They because they don't have the education to tell themselves, oh, go to the polls. They're there to protect. They're there to make sure that you guys are being safe. They're there to you know keep the peace.
Hmm.
The people don't know that, and
They
so
don't.
when they see an influx of security, and then the flocking of journalists too, all
Yeah,
in itself,
yeah.
it
Physical
also
and
helps.
southern
Yeah,
journalism and all of that.
yeah.
You know,
So it also
and
helps, with the fear. It brings trepidation in the minds of the people, and so some people will just decide to abstain from voting. I'm not going over there to get hurt or anything. So a lot, yeah,
yeah.
a lot has to be done when it comes to our national elections. And I don't know what 2023 will be. Because again, take for instance, the numbers were like under 800
Yeah,
that
on the eight
Cambodian
hundred
dollar won
seven
with.
ninety. That's the
That's what I'm
difference
saying.
between the
I'm
two.
saying
Yeah.
under 800, right?
Yeah.
Could this be a ploy to make it seem so narrow just to give it to him? You know, because if the margin is so wide, then it would be more, noise made. But let's kind of narrow the gap and give it to him because
And and
we will
and
come
that's
to
it.
that conversation. We'll come to that conversation later because it's one
Yeah.
of the
And
bullets we're going to talk about.
just before you go, I wanna let the public know this. The NEC, the UP further argue that a review of the result released by the NEC, the listing also show other candidates who participated in previous election, the 2020 elections that brought in Brani Samuka. Like, I don't know if you still remember this guy, one Clean from Lofa County. The UP is claiming that this gentleman's name was also listed on
On this current
the
ballot.
on this current ballot as one
I
of the
mean,
contestants.
but you mean not the ballot, but the result that came
Yeah,
out.
his name was listed as one of the contestants. This is a man who participated in 2020 election.
So it tells you that they didn't do the homework, they didn't scrutinize
They
the
did not.
document. Even the posting on the internet, according to some folks, those postings were taken down,
Yeah,
and but it was late because a lot of people and you've
people
seen,
took screenshot. People
yeah,
took screenshot.
screenshot,
Yeah.
people recorded and all of that. But yeah, it's a serious problem. It's a serious problem, and these things should happen now, and why it may not be, good for the unity party or the opposition. These things should happen now because come 2023, you can imagine the greater impact it will have on the national elections, particularly the presidency.
Absolutely.
Particularly the presidency.
Mhm.
So seeing some of these things now, the earlier it is that they can hopefully put a foot down to put some remedies in place so that we don't go into 2023 with situations like these. Quickly, Thomas Awaji, thank you so much for coming in tonight. We welcome you again to the Issues Room, my brother. Daniel Colley Jr. from GSA Road in Painesville, he said he's watching tonight. Welcome, invite a friend, share the link. The NEC should be audited before 2023. That's what Thomas Awaji is saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said, Volcano, 2023 will be a very significant period in Liberia's history. We're talking about the future of Liberia. That's why most people who believe in transparent and credible election are calling for the reconstitution of the National Elections Commission. Deanna Brown and the others have lost the trust of the people. These are significant claims because if Moses Sandy participated in 2020 election, how possible is it for Moses Sandy to be listed for the 2022 by election? How possible can that be? Volcano?
That's the risks of cutting and
That's
pasting.
yeah,
when,
that's
when
a
you cut it,
serious
yeah.
claim.
So
That's a serious claim.
probably to
Yeah,
use some of the data from the previous
it's
2020
likely.
elections.
And
Um,
that's what UP is saying. UP
yeah,
is
who
saying
knows?
that hey, the elections commission reported what it created, and the result does not reflect the outcome of the process. It doesn't reflect the will of the people. The Unity Party is saying that they created this in order to give victory to the ruling CDC. Now let's wait and see what the Supreme Court. I'm sure that's where the legal team from Unity Party is going to go, and let's see what the Supreme Court is going to say. But these are significant claims, very significant.
Well, you believe in the Supreme Court if it was absolutely independent. Again, but we got to wait and stay the course. The
Yeah,
second thing here again, your man, Tabla Davis, right?
yeah. Tabla Davis, yeah, from
Okay.
the LPRC. Mhm.
LPRC. He's the probably director of security at the LPRC.
Yeah.
affectionately known, popularly known as Zolizo. That
Right.
was the guy who was put in for confirmation for deputy defense minister, I
Yes.
believe
And
for
he was
operations.
rejected.
It
He
was
was rejected.
operations.
Yeah. hmm
So Mr. Weah said, you know what, my man, say you get that one. I will put you somewhere where you and I have confirmation hearing, but I eating error, because I mean that's what it is. Everybody wants eating error. They don't want to
Well,
go to a place where they can make impact for the country. They want to go to where they can eat. So
yeah.
Zoe Zona goes to LPRC as the director of security, and you got all these storage facility with thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons of fuel and gasoline, and the man is in custodianship of them. Tell the
Yeah.
story, Moses. What happened?
This may not seem new to a lot of people
Of
because the
course, and it
video,
was June 19. He said
yeah,
that was
yeah,
when they kind of videotaping or something.
yeah, the video has been out there circulating social media, and I saw, I don't know how credible, but I did see, Mr. Tabla with a gallon, filled with, I don't know whether that's gasoline or fuel, but I saw him moving that.
Do we know
And
if it was
putting
water too?
yeah, okay, anything could have been in there, but the allegation is that he was caught red-handed, engaged in criminal activities. So, predicated on what is in the social media, the LPRC management took administrative decision. Uh, I would assume, and Volcano, I'm sure you will agree with me, as an executive, a leader, I would assume if I have somebody working for me as chief of security being seen in such a video, reportedly, and let us be clear about that, we're not sure, but reportedly engaged in a criminal activity, the first thing you would do, you summon the president, right? Look, I have seen you in this video. And that's the argument that Mr. Tabla is saying, is making.
But let's stop there,
That
Moses.
Noah, but
So let's
let me drive this point.
okay, drive it so I can.
Yeah, he said no one talked to him, but he was only told that he needed to go sign for a suspension letter, suspending him for 2 months. But like I was saying, if I were in the position of the managing director, like you, Volcano Shelton, in executive position, someone hired to provide what? Security, right? Accused of such a criminal activity. That's not the kind of action you take against such person. That man is immediate dismissal. I terminate you immediately. I will probe as a leader, I will probe. And if it is established that your action was criminal, we will not suspend you. I will dismiss you immediately and turn you over for further prosecution. But Mr. Tabla, to the amazement of most Liberians, was suspended for 2 months by the LPRC management. And now Zoli comes to say, hey, nobody investigated him, nobody talked to him. And as far as he's concerned, as we say in Liberian parlance, my man, I still here. That thing you're doing, I'm listening, I still director. So the man has challenged your authority. And he says that he wants to talk to George Weah. He wants George Weah's intervention. But again, we know who Mr. Weah is. Let me give you the opportunity.
Yeah, but Moses,
hmm
agree the premise you laid, but from our perspective, as a
Yeah,
leader,
yeah,
I'm not even going to be involved. It's not
yeah.
going to. It's not going to. I'm not going to scoop to that level first. It's
hmm
going to have to go through our department, our internal department, for investigation. Okay,
Absolutely. Mhm,
so let's start from there. So our quality management department will assign investigator. They will take the video. They will verify if
mhm.
it is the employee. It will go
Yeah.
through the HR department,
mhm,
and once the recommendation is made by his boss, right? And
Yeah.
if it's if it's the managing director who is the boss, once the stuff come and the evidence are dead, yeah, then we'll do termination. Um,
Absolutely.
but in the meantime, uh, within the first 24 hours, we should be able to establish some kind of fact since it's a video to
Absolutely.
authenticate that it is him. Then he must be placed on administrative leave.
Immediately. Yeah.
Okay, put on administrative leave.
Mhm.
Uh, we can't just assume that the video is alleged and what's in the gallon. It could be water. It could be whatever it is. But the fact is, there's a process. So give the guy, his rights. He's saying that you can't call me to sign paper when you didn't do any investigation. He said because he's trying to hold some of those very criminals put
Responsible.
to the
Yeah.
fire. That
Yeah.
is why it seems as though it's a you know
People
a wish
fighting back.
hunting,
People
yeah,
are
a wish
fighting
hunting,
back. Yeah.
and they're
That's
all in the
exactly.
cahoots,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
decided to do this because now he's like more of the outsider. So,
Yeah.
and the man bouncing grumble,
Oh,
the
my
man say he's
man.
not leaving.
I mean,
So
they met bad Geo.
yeah. So I don't know where he's gonna go with it, but again, maybe the LPRC management did not follow the right procedure. You saw what happened to is this a government reform commission with Edwin Dennis? You
Oh
remember
yeah. Oh
the
yeah. When Dennis.
situation
Yeah.
where he threw his deputy, say he can't
Yeah.
enter the building and
He
da da da, and
yeah.
then
He
we are later
suspended the
on
man.
suspended him too.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
so
and
let me say this quick: people get power drunk in Liberia, and they fail to follow the process.
yeah.
The man shows up to work and say, "My man, don't come back here tomorrow."
Yeah.
Without
Who are you?
without any kind of probe, without putting you through the requisite departments that's supposed to do the investigation, before making that decision. They just jump up because you friend to we are, or you close to the president, or you curse into him. Then your very colleagues who's supposed to be your colleagues, irrespective of you being the boss, they're still
Yeah.
your colleagues. You
Yeah.
don't feed them. They work for the institution. They don't work for you in particular. And that's
Absolutely.
one of the reasons why I frown on the people who usually say my staff. My
No.
staff, I hate to use the word my staff
They work for
because
the
they're not my
institution,
staff.
but
They're
not
the
for you as an
organizational
individual.
staff.
Yeah.
Moses,
Yeah.
they are the organization staff. They
I
are my
agree.
colleagues. I may be
Mhm.
leading them, I may be supervising, I may be managing them, but they are not my staff
No,
because
they are
I don't
not.
own the company. Now, if I open Volcano Shelton and Sons Incorporated and I hire people, yeah, then they are my staff.
I
But all of
agree.
us work for an institution, then you're referencing your colleagues as your staff. Because when you do that, that's where you think you have gained power.
Yeah. Now you are subjugating them to you.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and that's where you
And
and
I mean,
it's
I truly
so
found I don't
so the
like to hear that.
yeah. So the point I was making was that like you write yourself, Volcano, if situation like that evolves in the institution that I work at, yeah, we're gonna go through what the routines, the protocol, the administrative policies will be followed. And when that report gets to me, and the report points that hey, we have enough evidence, I will not suspend you. I will dismiss you immediately.
Oh, obviously.
I
Listen,
will
Moses,
dismiss you immediately.
Moses, the
Mhm.
process here is that the
Yeah.
suspension takes place when a person is under investigation.
Yeah.
You either do two things at the end of the investigation. You
Right.
either reprimand
Hmm.
or you terminate. Three things actually: you reprimand, keep the person job, or you terminate.
Yeah.
You reprimand, they go back to work, or you terminate. So those are the three things that you can do.
Yeah.
But you
I
can't
agree.
suspend and say, "Oh, go sit down home for time indefinite." You have to take an action
You have
because the
to.
man needs to know whether he got a job or not.
Yeah.
All right, but we've dwelled on this, so let's move to the next thing here tonight. Uh, we just seen the elections last Tuesday
Hmm.
in Lofa County, the senatorial elections held. Uh, the two front runner, Galakwa Kotimai and Councillor Joseph Jallah. In the beginning of the tallying, it looked like the UP had pre-celebration that things
Hmm.
were going their way.
Right.
And by Tuesday, uh, the story changed. And Councillor Joseph Jallah was named, uh, you know,
The
the
winner.
senator who won the seat formerly for Brownie Samukai.
Yeah.
But then, in the same vein, by next day, Mr. Kotima was already signing his membership.
No, sir, of Mr. Jallah, the
I mean
counselor.
to say Mr. Jallah, sorry, Mr. Jallah was already signing his membership. Thanks for the correction. Was already
Yeah.
signing his membership with the CDC.
Yeah.
So, was that a masquerade, Moses? This guy pretended to be an independent, knew that because the CDC has not been very favorable in these elections,
Yeah.
uh, they don't even trust their own selves to put a candidate forth. Thomas Fala who have gone, Jefferson
Right.
Koji who have gone, you know, many of the Loma boys within the CDC who have gone,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't put a candidate.
They
And
did
then
not.
the behind the scene or under the table push this guy, and only for him to cross carpet the next day or day or two, and he's now a full-fledged sedition.
Yeah.
Do you find that as a deceit to the people of Lofa County?
Absolutely. It's a deceit. And again, this is where the credibility of the ruling party comes into question. Because Volcano Shelton, let me use myself as an example. I told Aja when Aja only existed in name and took it to an appreciable level. So it means that today, given the record in the organization, I can hold anyone's hand and say, "Hey, I stand with you." It means that I take pride in what I did in the organization, right? So because of that, I can hold someone hand, and my colleagues will say, "I think that person will do well." Now coming to the CDC. The CDC has been in power for over 5 years. They have gone into various elections and lost. George Weah has lifted the hands of people over the years, all of those people lost, including Thomas Fowler, that Delon whipped disgracefully in Montserrat County.
And what's that other lady named Paulina
Pauletta Weah.
or
She
Paulina? Okay.
also went. She also went against Delon, and Delon whipped her disgracefully. She represented the CDC. So that means that what now we are saying, for the fact that the CDC could not stomach the courage to say, "Hey, Councillor Jallah, we support you, but you have to be what our candidate." It means that the CDC has what integrity problem. So I don't understand this whole celebration of CDC. Even George Weah himself, and other than going around celebrating, yeah, we have won, we have won. No, you did not win. The people voted for the councillor because they believe in him. They did not vote for CDC because you do not have what your name. Your name has become an endangered what species, right? Your brand is no longer sellable. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Because you have integrity problem. If you could not put forth a candidate, and this man went under the guise of being an independent candidate, people who voted for him, some of those people who voted for him, they voted for him because they believe that as an independent candidate, he would have what? Uh, 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 um, supported whatever cause that they stand for. That's why they voted for him, or he represents what they stand for, not what the CDC stands for. So for the CDC to be claiming victory, no, the CDC cannot claim a victory.
So the guy is now
Or
considered
CDC,
the.
a CDC member, and that's a hypocrisy on his part too. If he did not believe in the CDC, then they announce you today in less than 24 hours, you become what, a CDC member. When did you make that decision? So that tells us that this man is going to go in the Senate, one agenda, promote the cause of the CDC. So all those people who voted for him, all those people who rallied around him because he was quote unquote independent candidate, he has let the people down. Go ahead, Volcano.
Yeah, and I was saying that, so with the fact that he's being declared the winner,
Hmm.
I'm sure at some point they will certificate him, and then he will be sworn in his seat
Yeah,
in the Senate. Um, how long is that process? You cover the legislature for
legislation.
years as a
Yeah.
reporter. How
Mhm.
long is that process before Unity Party, gets to court? Do you think the Supreme Court, if Unity Party filed a lawsuit, will then say that no ceremonies yet, hold up certification, we want to look into the matter, and then that will also delay the process? Then Lofa County again will be faced with
We're only one
another
senator, right?
delay. Huh?
We're only one senator, right?
Senator, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. What I would surmise is that if UP goes to court, the Supreme Court is going to review the matter, and if there are legitimate claims, if the CDC, I mean, if the UP can prove its case, if the evidence become available while the matter is being probed, I would surmise the Supreme Court will issue a prohibition on this guy induction.
Hmm.
The Supreme Court will issue a prohibition saying that, hey, for now, this senator's victory is being probed. The matter is in court. And on that basis, until a determination is made, he cannot be inducted. That's what will happen. So he will have to wait for some time. If he becomes lucky that all the claim UP making and the Supreme Court look at them and say, hey, where's the evidence or where are the facts? And the UP defaults, the court may say, hey man, you don't have a case and they can throw it out. But if there are legitimate claims and the evidence are there to support those claims, a probe will be opened, the matter will be heard, and while that matter is in court, there will be a prohibition issue on his induction. He won't be able to take seat. Yeah.
What that does for Lofa County, when you think about it, and I'm speaking from the perspective of the elders.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure that some of the people voted for him, like you said, based on the
Mhm.
fact that he was an independent.
Independent candidate.
Uh,
Yeah.
and the independents have been doing a lot well in these elections
Yeah.
compared to people who are representing political parties.
Yeah.
There were chatters about Mr. Kotemai didn't do much for the county.
Mhm.
In fact, he didn't handle, the death of a young man who I believe was murdered. Um, Development wise, there wasn't much done. However, the fact that the UP has always been like the counterpay, electoral counterpay over the county, they were believing that with Joseph Boyka raising his hand, meaning Kotemai's hand, that was a clear-cut victory. Um, but the county now may kind of be on these results.
Oh
And
yeah.
some of the folks who said, "You see what we told you? Don't vote for Jallah because Jallah was,
Yeah.
was on the table. So
Yeah. He was
was in
fake.
position. He
He
was
was
from the
fake.
onset.
Yeah.
Now the things that's always happening that the opposition will have done for us, we futuristically going to be deprived those things.
Absolutely.
Do you see rift in the county? I mean, particularly for the elders and the folks who trusted that Jala was going to be the instrument of change and voted for him, and only to be masquerading uh, in Halloween clothing.
Yeah. Obviously, Volcano. even the devil has his
Angels.
follower. Yeah, you know. So there gonna be some political rift. There are people who believe in the senator elect, and there are people who also believe in the unity party led by the former Vice President Joseph Boakai. If you were to go to Lofa today and talk to the citizen, some of them will say we stand with the former Vice President. Some of them will say they don't stand with the former Vice President. So there's going to be some, political rift in the county. But if anything can be done to reconcile the county, and I think what most people are looking at Volcano is the situation in Lofa is a litmus test for 2023. If the claims made by the Unity Party, if those claims are legitimate, and if the corrective actions are not taken now, then 2023 will be chaotic. And I think that's why a lot of people are looking at, you know, if the Supreme Court establishes that the NEC was in error, the NEC compromised the election in Lofa County and take the corrective actions, then the credibility in the NEC will be restored. But if that doesn't happen, who knows what may happen come 2023 if you still have the other branch at the NEC? You still have the same commissioners doing the same thing. This was what by election. I know people in Lofa will still have their own little, internal rift, but I think the people are looking at the bigger picture. What may happen? What may happen come 2023? We're just talking about by election that brought together less than 200,000 people. Now you have a whole country of what, nearly 5 million people going to election in 2023. So if you do not have an institution that the people can confide trust in, the people don't have trust in this institution, then the country will be heading for a bigger problem.
But let me just add this quick.
Yeah.
So where are the oppositions now? Where is Alexander Cummings? Where is Daniel Cassell? Where is Tiawan Gonglo? Where is what's the guy's name? What's the
Uh,
guy name? The guy who's representing ALCOP, Alhaji Komala
Lucene,
Parker. Yeah,
Lucene and
yeah.
Kamara.
So where
Mhm.
are all these folks, including Joseph Boakai? Where are they coming with a resounding voice to say, listen, this NEC must go. Implore on the international community, make some noise with the American embassy, make some noise with the United Nations, make some noise with the Carter Center, because the Carter Center is an elections monitor, right? They go
Yeah, yeah.
around,
The
yeah,
monitor, the track. Yeah.
elections. Make some noise. Make some noise rather than just fold and then wait until they snatch the stuff from you come 2023, and then you want to go spreading wildfire.
I agree.
This is
And
the time for them now to begin to work, put all the mechanisms in place, because the rights are at stake. If they
absolutely.
claim to be
Mhm.
serious about the presidency.
Yeah, and the Unity Party initiated the process today. In the statement they issued, they call on the U.S. government, the European Union, ECOWAS, and other international groups to ensure that the NEC is reconstituted. The party says it has no trust in the theater brown led NEC. They foresee a bigger problem come 2023 if the NEC is not reconstituted.
And you know, Moses, let
Yeah.
me just say this. I don't see the need why a president, an incumbent, a sitting president should be the one appointing the elections commissioner, the chair of the elections commission. I don't
Yeah.
think that the president, I don't think so. I think the stakeholders, okay,
Mhm.
the process should be an rather not an investigation. You can add, I can put
Yeah,
in
go
the
ahead. Finish
investigation,
first. Yeah.
but the process should be the stakeholders, the Liberian Council of Churches, the civil society, international institutions that put the monies into the elections, right? They
Hmm.
should constitute a committee to vet. That was the word. The vetting process should be
The
put in
vetting
place,
process. Yeah.
right? With
Mhm.
background investigation, any kind of corrupt malfeasance on your record, you're not qualified to head this commission. You know, instead of the president appointing, all of the
Yeah.
commissioners should be put through a vetting process by the stakeholders. That
Yeah.
would be my position. And even I were the president of Liberia today, just so I don't look like my hand is in the cookie jar, I just gonna say, listen, Mr. International Community, you go ahead, you constitute a committee to vet the number of commissioners on the National Elections Commission. Let those people be paid well and handsomely, portioned by the Liberian government and portioned by the international community, so that we can have an honest, free, transparent elections. But when you appoint your own man to the position, and then you say this man should be transparent across the board, it's impossible. Even if the man is trying to be credible, yet he's still answerable to you as the
Yeah.
sitting president.
Yeah. To ensure transparency on the elections commission, that's why all of the commissioners occupy tenure position. So and they all serve a term. Take for example, if Volcano Shelton is nominated and confirmed as a commissioner, Mr. Shelton will serve a specific term. Let's say hypothetically 5 years. When that happens, Mr. Shelton can only be removed for a cause.
The
So
people
the
will
other,
generate the cause, Moses. You saw what happened to lady with
yeah,
Liberia
mhm,
extractive or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah,
You saw what happened
but
to the lady guy.
no,
So
I'm only explaining
I
what
know you. I'm
the
just saying
laws
that.
are.
Listen,
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
saying that if you
yeah.
go through the vetting committee,
Hmm.
national or international vetting committee with all of the stakeholders, right?
Yes. Hmm.
A committee that is constituted by the stakeholders, exonerate the government. The government should have no input
Yeah.
whatsoever, because the sitting government is already in the seat. Now,
Mhm.
if you think that you can go back in the seat, then your work should speak for you. There's a
Absolutely.
song that says, may the works, or may the rather life I live speaks for me. So may the work George Weah does
Yeah.
speak for him,
For the future. Yeah. Hmm.
right? Not
Yeah.
because he put somebody there who he believes will have his interest. And
Hmm.
even if his interest is questioned, then we'll go on the table and do Croker G just to put him back. So that's the point
Yeah.
I'm making.
Yeah.
Election commissioners should be vetted.
Yeah.
And
They should be
maybe other
vetted.
people are thinking something else, but I think they should be vetted by an international committee set up by the stakeholders, and make sure that those people who come into the commissioner post are corrupt free, no tainted character. They should be in the interest of the masses. Their mandate should be very clear, and they must live up to those creeds and tenets of the
Absolutely.
position.
Absolutely.
With
Those
no
people need.
intervention, from anywhere else except to do the job and do it by the books.
Absolutely. And they all need to be people of what? Integrity. And that is where most critics of the chair of the commission are coming from. That Mrs. Brown, I mean Mrs. The other Brown Lansana has lost integrity, given the conflict of interest case she has involving the thermometer, where they spend more money renting thermometers than what it actually needed to buy a new one. And not only that, she awarded contracts to her siblings. And someone who has such an integrity institution should not be doing something like that. And I don't understand why, because the election laws provide that, hey, any of the commissioners can be removed for a cause. So if it is established that this woman committed a crime or she has integrity problem, her presence on the commission has drawn the credibility of the commission into what question, then she has to go. You cannot keep the other order. That's the argument UP is making. That's the argument of most critics of the NEC are making now, that the NEC is not credible. So I hope President George Weah, if he really means well for Liberia, will begin to have a second thought about the current constitution of the NEC. Those commissioners, they have lost the credibility of the people. The integrity is no longer there. I think they need to go.
All right. If you just join us, this is the Issues Room. This is our 72nd edition. We're here live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, with a repeat on ABC Radio FM 105.1 in Monrovia. We want to say good evening to Joe, Wanda, Michael, Toe, and the rest of the crew out there on Broad Street. We also want to say good evening to Abraham Colley, our correspondent in Monrovia. You'll be hearing from us momentarily. Uh, we come on Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, we cover everything. I mean, we are the alternative. We don't pick, we don't choose. We discuss the things that matter. We invite all of the newsmakers, the shakers, the breakers, and we try to go for issues that are very, very concerning. And tonight we're looking at a few things here we talked earlier in our trending news about the Unity Party addressing the nation today. We also covered Zolizo, the
The
director
director
of
of
security at
security,
the
yeah,
Liberia
OPRC.
Petroleum Refining Company, and we just talked about whether it was deceitful on the part of Councillor Joseph Jallah to have gone as an independent, and by the time he won the seat, pronounced to win the seat, he became a sedition, a member of the now ruling party. So, Moses, we talked
Yeah,
about many things, and one of the things I wanted us to turn our attention to is corruption.
yeah.
And we're not using Liberia now. We just wanted to go somewhere. Oftentimes, it is construed that on the continent of Africa, there's nothing good.
So
All of the African governments are corrupt. All of the presidents are corrupt, and it's just ingrained in our culture as black people, black
mhm,
governments,
yeah,
black governors, black leaders to be corrupt. And our corruption is so pervasive, it's so visible, it's so, out there in the open because the folks come to power with nothing.
mhm,
And in a few years, they amass wealth and now they, you know, um, millionaires and billionaires to some degree.
yeah.
So tonight we want to look at the Malawian president, Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera. Malawi is a small country in Southern Africa. I think it borders with South Africa, Mozambique, somewhere in there. Can be Lesotho and Swaziland, but it's right in that little
Yeah.
spot with Angola and so forth.
Mhm.
Um, Namibia, one of them. But that small country, I believe they had the second female president
Yeah.
after Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
Yeah.
The lady who
Mhm.
was called Madam Benda
Yeah.
or Banda, Band or something.
Yeah.
So they elected Mr. Chakwera in 2020 June as the current president. He is a theologian and a politician, and he is the sixth president of Malawi. In
A
addition to
very
his
young
presidency,
country.
yeah,
Mhm.
in addition to his presidency, he named himself the Minister of Defense. He took on that portfolio. Okay. Um, so his campaign um, was on a transformation. His campaign message. He came on a ticket of transformation to turn Malawi and the Malawian people into a middle class income economy by building a capable democratic developmental state. So there were five core pillars underpinning his approach to governance that he values. One of them is servant leadership, okay? And it's the big model now globally. Organizations are using servant leadership model. We use
Yeah.
that. We have seven pillars.
Mhm.
Uniting Malawians, prospering together, ending corruption, and judicial independence and the rule of law. So all of
Yeah.
the things we've been talking about for a period of time now: corruption, judicial, honesty, and respecting the rule of law. So when he outlined these initiatives, of course, the people voted him in power. His vice president, Solos Chalima, uh, was investigated by they called the group the Anti-Corruption Bureau, the ACB, and
Mhm.
he and some other officials, including the Inspector General of Police, George Kainja. These guys were investigated, particularly the vice president. His name came out in a $150 million corruption scandal. That's a lot of money.
A
So
lot
immediately the president stripped him of his,
of his power.
functionaries, and
Mhm.
then uh, fired. He didn't suspend. He fired the inspector
The
of uh, uh, uh,
police.
of police,
Yeah.
um, and he has taken some very strict measures. So I want to see if I can share one of his speeches here. Let me try to find it quick
Yeah.
while
Do
you
that.
talk. Yeah, while you talk on the reasons why we thought to put this out here, because you mentioned that President Weah is whining and dining with these other folks
In
every day.
Liberia.
The story comes out and nothing
Mhm.
seems to be happening. So
Yeah.
continue on that while I find the clip.
Yeah. And I would say that I applaud the president of Malawi. He has brought pride to Africa, and I hope that our other African leaders will emulate his stance taken against public corruption. The only thing that I would like to differ with him on a little bit is that he cannot and nobody can end corruption. Corruption can be minimized. He can minimize corruption, but he cannot end it. Because even the great United States that you and I are today living in other Western countries, there are still a lot of people that are engaged in public corruption. But
So
it's just
let's
that
hear
these
from him.
countries have laws that control that. You want to go to him now?
Yeah,
Yeah, go
and
to
then
him. Yeah, I can pause and you go to him. Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
One, Your Excellency.
Fellow Malawians, on the final day of last month, I addressed you on matters related to allegations that a British national and businessman named Zunet Sattar had been bribing public officers in the Malawi government in exchange for government contracts. As you may recall, on that day, I appealed to the Anti-Corruption Bureau to submit a report to my office within 21 days in order to inform Malawians of the full extent of the matter and enable me to make informed decisions that honor the Constitution, respect the rules of natural justice, and protect the independence of our institutions. Now that the 21 days have elapsed, I have come to address you again on the key findings of the Anti-Corruption Bureau as contained in the report that the Bureau has submitted to me. I have isolated 10 key findings that I believe are worth highlighting as pointers to the factors that drive and fuel corruption in this country. Number one, the Bureau has found that in the 4 years between 2017 and 2021, the Malawi Police Service and the Malawi Defense Force awarded 16 contracts worth over $150 million to 5 companies belonging to Mr. Cllr. This means that one driver of corruption in Malawi is the country's procurement laws allowing contracts to be awarded to companies without regard for the beneficial ownership of those companies, which allows business persons to capture the state through unknown contract monopolies. As such, I have directed the Minister of Justice to fast-track the legislation we have been working on to change this. Number two, the Bureau has found that in some contracts, the Malawi government is defrauded through unfairly high and inflated prices. One example, the report cited, involved a truck available on the market for $2,000 being sold to the Malawi government for over $1.7 million. This means that another driver of corruption in our country is the country's procurement laws, allowing evaluators to accept prices that are clearly unfair to Malawians. As such, the amendments we are making to the procurement regulations will also aim to fix this. Number three, the Bureau has found that some officials in the public procurement system who are not under investigation or suspected of corruption have nonetheless had challenges in following procurement procedures as laid down in the law. This means that a third driver of corruption in our country is a dysfunctional procurement system that is the result of procedures that are too cumbersome to follow and which public procurement officials lack the capacity to enforce. As such, the amendments we are making to the procurement regulations will also streamline and simplify the procedures. And in the months that follow, controlling officers of all government ministries, departments, and agencies will be oriented to the new approach. Number four, the Bureau has found that some public officers allegedly abused their offices, either by intentionally flouting procurement procedures or by usurping procurement functions outside their mandate. This means that a fourth factor driving corruption is the unchecked abuse of public office in the public sector, which weakens controls designed to protect public resources. As such, I call on the Office of the Ombudsman to attend to incidents of abuse of public office that arise from this investigation and take appropriate action according to law. 5, The Bureau has found that some public officers mandated to do due diligence and provide checks and balances allegedly neglected or failed to do so, including two former attorneys general who issued letters clearing Mr. Sattar's companies of any wrongdoing. This means that a fifth factor driving corruption is negligence of duty by some who are entrusted with protecting the public's interest. As such, I have tasked the Secretary to the President and Cabinet to work with controlling officers of the MDAs where these acts of negligence are said to have taken place and take appropriate action to discipline wrongdoers and strengthen oversight mechanisms. Number 6, the Bureau has found that a total of 53 public officers and former public officers allegedly received money from Mr. Sattar in the 8 months between March 2021 and October 2021. These public officers were specifically from Malawi Defense Force, Malawi Police Service, Malawi Broadcasting Corporation, Malawi Revenue Authority, Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority, Office of the President and Cabinet, Office of the Vice President, Judiciary, Minister of Justice, Minister of Finance, Minister of Information, Minister of Homeland Security, Minister of Lands, Minister of Tourism, State House, Reserve Bank of Malawi, Financial Intelligence Authority, and even the Anti-Corruption Bureau itself. Additionally, the Bureau has found that another set of 31 individuals from the private sector, the media, civil society, and the legal fraternity also received money from Mr. Sattar during those 8 months, bringing the total of those on the Bureau's list to 84. However, in its report, the Bureau has forbidden the publication of the full list by my office or the Bureau, saying that, quote, due to the extremely complex nature of this investigation, the ACB is not in a position to release to the general public the whole list of the persons who allegedly received bribes to allow for proper and full investigations to determine their culpability, if any, and to avoid prejudicing people who may otherwise be innocent, end of quote. I'll tell you my view on the publication of the report shortly, but for now, I believe it is important for me to inform you that apart from the Vice President, whose alleged involvement was already made public 3 weeks ago, no member of my cabinet appears on the Bureau's list of 84, nor does anyone currently working in the office of the President and Cabinet. As for the list, the fact that the Bureau believes that it is possible that some people on its list may be innocent means that a sixth factor that drives corruption in Malawi is the accepted and common practice among Malawians of innocently asking for or accepting money assistance from affluent people whose source of wealth is obscure. As such, I have directed the Minister of Justice to work with my office in reviewing the Malawi Public Service regulations and ensure that they are amended accordingly to require all public servants, without exception, to declare any gifts they receive above a certain value from business persons. My office will also work with the Office of Public Officers Declaration to enable that office to enforce this standard across all MDAs and remove any emerging conflicts of interests.
What's this?
Yes. I'm here.
This man has, you know, thrown a litany of issues here, and I mean, he's so eloquent, straightforward. You would think that our president, we are,
Yeah,
will be researching on his colleagues. Let's put it this way: when you're president of a country, you should be concerned what other colleagues are doing
of course, the high
in
should
their
be.
countries, and you should be making contacts.
Of course.
President Lazarus, Chakwera, can I come over and hang out for a 2-day working visit with you? What you doing in Malawi right now should be replicated in Liberia. You can get some of your professionals to come here and help with our anti-corruption commission, stuff like that. But
The
yeah,
coordination,
yeah,
coordination,
yeah. So yeah, what it is, this guy is telling you some of the areas of corruption.
yeah,
But one of the areas that I've always said, sometimes it's not just the taking of money, but it is the denial of the people who have the expertise to be able to work independent of any coercion,
yeah,
power of coercion, financial, whatever it is. The National Port Authority, he talked about cumbersome bureaucratic policies in place. So those cumbersome bureaucratic policies like the National Port Authority, where you got to go through the layers to bribe,
I
that
mean,
in
it
itself,
is it, and just to buttress the point you're making, our system is so is set up in such a way that to move from A to B, you got to talk to somebody, and when they say talk to somebody, you got to bribe somebody. And look, this guy impressed me so much. Everything he talked about, the bureaucracy, and the denial of opportunity, the conflict of interest that he's trying to fight. These are things that are what? Very visible in Liberia. Like you said, the world has become a global village. Mr. Weir doesn't have to go to Malawi. All he needs,
get on the phone.
get on the phone and say, look, my man, let's have a video conference. Yeah, man can talk. Look, man, look, I'm having problem fighting graft. What is working for you? How are you guys doing it? And what can we do? You don't necessarily have to copy everything that they are doing in Malawi, but you can extract that what makes you a leader. You extract what is workable, what is applicable to your situation. Volcano is the same old thing. If I come to see you as my friend, I notice that your kids get regular meal, you are attending to the basic needs. I may not take everything. We may not have the same income, but I may take some of those things. I say, well, you know what? He attends to the needs of his children. I should be able to do that. That's how people do it. That's how people lead. That's how people govern. The
So let me
guys,
add this
yeah,
part. The Malawian president also at one point dissolved his entire cabinet over corruption charges against 3 of his members.
mhm.
Chakwera told the nation in a televised address that all functions of cabinet revert to my office until I announce a reconfigured cabinet in 2 days. He vowed to confront all forms of lawless conduct by public officials. The 3 ministers in question were the lands minister, Kezi Unsukwa, who stands accused of profiting off land deals, including a Malawian businessman based in the UK, the Labour Minister, Ken Kadudu, who is accused of siphoning COVID-19 funds,
Yeah.
and the Energy Minister, Newton Kambala, who is also accused of illegally manipulating fuel import deals. I mean, but look
Don't
in
you?
Liberia.
Yeah, but
Look
don't
in
you see
Liberia,
these things in Liberia, Volcano?
people doing their own thing. The people are crying. the national the LAC or LACC comes up with a report, the president denies that he's seen the
Nobody, yeah.
report. Nobody told him anything. He's still
Yeah,
waiting.
nobody to,
Oh, then he say he quoting law. You want me to
yeah.
go battle the people if we don't get
You
in the
say it's
fair
an
share?
allegation,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
You
Look
know,
at
but
and look at look at what happened at the Ministry of Agriculture, just to buttress the point.
I want you to go there first. I wanted to say that. Look at this president. Look at in his astuteness. Look at
Yes,
in his presidential domain. Look at it. Look at how this guy is addressing the nation.
very structured, very structured. He knows the issue.
Look
He
how
knows what he's
powerful he's
talking
coming
about.
across.
Yeah,
Look at this man.
yeah.
But you have a president. Instead of coming to the nation and address the nation,
He doesn't.
he gave a cheap interview.
Yeah. But the man,
You know,
and how do you fight graft when you cannot take a national position as a president? Come to your people and tell the people, look, this is the position of my government with reference to fighting graft. We will enforce the laws of this country to the letter, regardless of who is involved, and begin to take what? Concrete action. Hypothetically, if you have a minister of state that running the office of the Ministry of State as a private entity, what do? You hold him accountable.
but that's what he's doing.
I'm not saying that Nathaniel McGee is doing that, but I'm just being hypothetical here.
But my brother, you heard people say that the man he put his own door.
Yeah.
We are of the guy own door with lock and key. You heard Pierre said that. So
Yeah,
the police talked about
yeah, the laws, the police.
the man got his own door.
Yeah, the criminal justice system, the laws of the country must work. That's what this guy is saying. We holding people accountable. Can you imagine? The man held the vice president of the country was accountable. Right?
Yeah.
In Liberia. Has anyone been held accountable? No. When Mr. Weah became president.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
why he's not holding anyone accountable? Because he's a direct beneficiary
Of course he does.
to these corrupt practices.
Mhm.
You can't tell me that he doesn't know what's going on.
He knows
You can tell me
exactly.
these guys are not going to Jamaica Resort with bags of money.
No.
You can't tell
But
me
look,
that.
But look, Volcano, look at
Let's be practical here. Let's be honest here, Moses. And it can be alleged. You can say I'm alleging. You can say I have no evidence. But it is crystal clear the lifestyle of the president.
the man
It is crystal clear
benefits
by the amassment of wealth by the president.
overnight. Overnight. You heard the Malawian president saying that, hey, a businessman came to this country that was literally bribing our public officials because he wanted to be awarded government contract.
The man was just turning water into wine. The man
Yeah.
just put it on, man. Turn
The
water
man
into wine.
bribing, man bribing people all over the place. He said, no, we need to hold this guy accountable. And these are things that are what? Very visible in Liberia.
So you know what?
You have all the Indian guys, you have all these Lebanese guys over there that are what? Literally bribing public officials. That's how they get away through.
But you hear what the president said? Malawian president said. He said that the report said that some people, may have been innocent, but they may have taken small little gifts here and there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He said, so I instructed the Ministry of Justice to put into law to draft something that certain amount of gift you can't take.
Of course.
Because then it's corruption. So if you know that this amount of money you're not supposed to take, or this little nice watch you're not supposed to take, because you're compromising as your integrity and the institution as a public official or a public servant, because sometimes it's not just the official, it's the public servant.
Of course.
It starts from there.
Volcano, and just to piggyback on what you said, right? The issue of gift. You Volcano Shelton, where you currently work at, I'm sure in your policy there are laws that clearly defines the kind of gift that you take and gifts that you don't take. You don't have any of your employees coming to you say, "Oh, chief, yeah, it's $200 for you." You don't take that. When you do that, that's going to compromise your role as a top executive. Yes, somebody may give you what? Your birthday is coming up. Someone can go down to the dollar store and buy you a card. Say, hey, yeah, it's a birthday card. But they're not going to come and throw a birthday party for you because you don't want to compromise that role. When you begin to take that, when you have to act as an executive, you won't be able to do it because why? You're going to feel obligated to those people. Don't we do that in Liberia? You have the Lebanese guys who are throwing parties for our executives. They gave them cars. And this is what the Malawian guy is saying. Hey, we need to look at our laws and put in place laws that will say, hey, you cannot take a gift of maybe hypothetically more than $200. If you do that, you will be in violation. All of these policies are put in place to avoid people being compromised.
But Musa, let me add this piece in there because think about it. If the Liberian government is the most major employer in the country, and it's so corrupt at every sector, every department, every public servant, every public official, then what's going to happen for Liberia?
The country
what's going to happen? I'm just looking at it from that perspective because the government is the major employer in the country.
Of course, whether you like it or
not. Even in the private sector, you haven't gone to Liberia, but you go in the banks. They tell us they will look at you in ways that your money, you got to get something.
Oh, but my man,
if you go for $1,000, you got to give something. If you go for $500, you got to give. Maybe if you go for $100, they will give it to you.
No, but Volcano, most of the time when I send money to Liberia, and people go pick up the money, they tell us they do that deliberately. The first thing they tell them, the system is down.
Or no money.
They tell them say the system is down, but I can talk to my boss. And then they tell you, oh, but I need to carry something for him. So if you went for $200 or $300, now you're going to offer a bribe of $20. When they should not really be doing that.
What do you mean should not really be? They should not be doing that. No,
that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't happen.
When you say really, then mean
that should not happen. You should go. You entitled to your money. You pick up your money and go because you have already paid the fees. The fees have already been paid abroad. You and I, when we remit money, we pay all the fees. All we want our people to do is go and pick up the money. Sometimes I send money to my daughter in Liberia. She goes to pick up her money. They create all this unnecessary bureaucracy, and you have to literally bribe.
When you think about the distance you're coming from, let's just say you're coming from way Ralphie.
Yeah.
You got to take car, the transportation to commute to get to town, to one of the places where you get the money.
Yeah.
When you think about it, you say, let me just get
let me get a mess on there. Yeah.
I mean, they will literally strangle you that you will cave in.
You have to.
You will have to cave in.
You got no choice.
If the private sector, meaning the banking institutions, are not credible, and these managers know fully well that is happening up from at the teller counter, and they're benefiting it from behind the scene. And I tell you honestly, some of the tellers in the bank, oh, you know what to do?
No.
So go in your account literally and take some money out and turn it into their own business on the side and be trying to pay your account back.
Can you imagine that?
I'm telling you true story. They do that in Liberia. They'll go in your account
and take your money.
Money's out.
And they turning your money around.
Turning your money around.
So then what happens if such a story unfolds? Those people who do that, what happens to them? Do they get dismissed and prosecuted?
what are you talking about getting this maize? Everybody's in the deal. Everybody's there. I'm telling you the line. But look at some of the banks where they're coming from. Some of the
Where?
banks they originate in West Africa.
Okay.
Some of the banks originate in West Africa. That's why I don't have a bank account. I've never used any of my personal information in Liberia. I only pick up money. That's it. Because it's so bad. It's so sad.
It's
You
it's
understand me?
unfortunate.
So, I mean, we just thought to throw this in here that the continent of Africa, at least one or two presidents are taking action.
And we should commend this man.
Paul Kagame took action
Mhm.
to, deport some bad investment and bad investors. Malawian President Lazarus, Chakwera is doing
He's doing a
everything
great
he can
job.
to address, corruption. He's not compromising on it. And I don't know, because he's a religious man, he's been a theologian for all his professional career. He has a doctorate in divinity.
Mhm.
So and he's very aligned with God.
Yeah.
And I think that he understands it from that perspective. I was just reading something on. It was just a little post by someone, but it's from the book of Proverbs, where it's better to have little,
Then to have
through
more.
righteousness, than to have a surplus or plenty through corruption and injustice.
Absolutely.
You understand me?
Absolutely.
And that's what these guys are doing. They're
Yeah.
taking more, and
And
day
what
in
he's
and day out.
and Volcano, what this man is doing, other African leaders, what they have done over the years, this shows that not everything that emanates from Africa is bad. We should be proud of these people. This is true leadership. I mean, I'm so impressed with this president, Volcano. Look at how the guy mounted a podium. That's how leaders were.
Man, he's not even
Speak.
stuttering. He's not even stuttering.
No, the
And-
man
and-
is telling a story.
And you know what the guy said? The guy said he went to bed with the document. He reviewed the document
He
thoroughly.
did.
And he pointed out some of the areas he was
Yeah.
very concerned
Yeah,
about.
he said, look, we need to correct this. We need to, he said, our procurement laws. You heard him say that, our procurement laws. We need to take a closer look. And our fight on graft, the process, we need to take a closer look at that.
Because he
His
also said,
companies,
that the anti-corruption bureau itself
yeah,
has some minor issues
Problem.
with corruption.
contain it. And that's what we need. But look, to tell you why George Weah will not succeed in fighting graft, or why he has not succeeded in fighting graft, when Mr. Weah came to the presidency in 2018, what did he do? He put a 47 condominium on a shady condition.
Moses, hear me out on this. This is not a news story. I think what we need to focus on here is that President Weah is a beneficiary of what is happening in Liberia.
Well, yeah.
That's the honest truth here.
And let me give you another
there's no-
example.
there's-
And you struck a certain point, right? To tell you that, hey, if we're going to hold people accountable in that country, if we're going to fight graft, we need to hold people accountable. Look at this guy, Musa Belede. The road fund. The man owed the Republic of Liberia more than $4 million. Yeah, he walks around. Nobody says nothing. Nobody has done nothing.
Do you not say that out of that $4 million in debt, maybe 50% went in the pockets of the people who's supposed to go after him? Absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Of course, yeah.
If I'm going to give you 50% of Aja money that you giving me, then you will have to really walk behind me to get that 50% I it.
Yeah, and that's what the Malawian president was saying, that the issue of gift. Because if the Attorney General is a friend of Musa Belede, and Musa Belede takes, a vehicle that costs hypothetically $20,000 as a gift to the Attorney General, the Minister of Justice. I am being hypothetical here, and I don't want people to say, "Oh well, he's saying the guy there." I'm being hypothetical. I'm just using that as a typical example. If Musa Bedeze takes a gift of $20,000, a vehicle that costs $20,000, it's a whole Mr. Minister, today is your birthday. Yeah, it's a gift, and the Minister of Justice takes that. Then in less than 3 weeks, he gets a report indicting Musa Bedeze for $4 million. What do the Minister of Justice will do for Kendall? He's going to look the other way.
You know, call Billy just say, my man,
Say, "Well, man, I got something on you."
got something on you. Got something on you. But yeah. I mean, and Moses, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know if our country will go anywhere with these kinds of bad governance.
Yeah.
Again, the Liberian people are their own problems. They're
Yeah.
wicked to themselves.
Mhm.
Come 2023, I've said this repeatedly, and I'm going to close this 8:27. We're going to be wrapping up. So let me just go
Yeah,
now.
sure.
and then you
Yeah,
come
go
in.
down. Yeah. Mhm.
I've said this repeatedly, Moses, that I have no problem with President Weah. It was God's blessing that he got the job. He made promises to the Liberian people, but he has not lived up to any of those promises.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as some of his friends in I mean on the continent, addressing the ills of society, because at the end of the day, posterity is going to judge Weah.
Mhm.
It's going to judge his family, his children, his grandchildren. It's happening with Charles D.B. King.
Of course.
It's happening with President Todman.
Charles
It's
Taylor,
happening with Charles Taylor.
Samuel Doe.
So you may be gone, Weah,
Yeah.
and you think it's legacy. When they say, "Oh, that we are children and oh, that we are grandchildren," don't get that man Joe. Hey, part day like bro, nothing.
Yeah, man.
No,
Man.
yeah, you know.
Man.
And how much you think you're going to benefit from this?
And
Everything
yeah,
is
yeah.
in the moment.
Mhm.
All this enjoyment you doing the buka, you know,
Yeah.
you jumping up and down. All these things is just in this moment, because
Mhm.
tonight God can make a decision. Tonight,
Of course, anything can happen at any time.
you know, God can make a decision. So sometimes when we live, we must live honoring the purpose that God blesses us with.
Absolutely.
He
Mhm.
You went through an ordination. You were ordained. Hand was laid on your head. You swore on the Bible of the things you would do for your people. You think when you go here and build what they call it, invisible park, and then you add a little fish pond and call it pool for the children, then you developing the country?
You develop
For
it.
real?
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah.
Weah?
Yeah.
Do you know
yeah.
how much you could have done within these 5 years
5
had you
years.
put in the right form of government, taking action, dealing with those folks who continue to bring shame to your image,
Hold people
you know,
accountable.
fostering relationship with the international community,
Mhm.
you know, taking actions on corruption, taking actions on the what they call it, the deaths going on in the country, you know, all of these things.
Mhm.
But you got a spirit to go on YouTube and
And
Facebook
do, yeah,
and
and do,
dance.
yeah, and dance.
You dance the zombie, now you dance in the buka.
And you just struck a salient point. You see the distinction between him and other African leaders. That's one of the significant distinctions between him and other African leaders. When his colleagues are taking what position on national issues, George Weah uses his time for leisure. And ask his followers who tell you when you went to Liberia that you were being blind. Ask them, when was the last time Mr. Weah took a position on the fight against graft in Liberia? When was the last time Mr. Weah ever took a position on the healthcare system of Liberia? When was the last time Mr. Weah ever took a position on Liberia's educational system? Liberia's national defense. People are getting missing. The rule of law. When was the last time Mr. Weah ever took a position on any of these things? The guys who are coming to you and I asking us to say, hey, my man, we want your support for George Weah. Ask them to answer these questions. You want me to support George Weah? Clearly articulate for me When was the last time he ever took a position on international issues that really impact the lives of the people instead of what? Dancing. Ask them, Volcano. You know? And that's how
I
we like
think
to
I
wrap
think
it.
I think it's been a wonderful discussion. One
It
of the
was.
bullets we didn't bring we'll bring on Friday, and
Sure.
that has to do with the prevalence of adult men in the country sodomizing those boys.
Yeah.
This is becoming very, very
Sad.
uh, alarming, and I've seen a lot of stories out there. And again, it's a new wave of evilness
Mhm.
in our country. So again, since these last several years, it's just been horrible for Liberia. In the way horrible all over, every sense of the word horrible. I don't know what else we're gonna do, but we got to keep praying. We got to keep, you know, uh, discussing these kinds of very pertinent issues. And I'm not gonna stop. I'm not, you know, insulting anyone. I'm just calling a spade a spade. I'm just looking at the records there and making comparison. You can only tell somebody who hasn't been to Liberia that they don't know anything about the country. But I've been going to Liberia since 2009, almost every year, and I know what's happening in Liberia. I don't think that President Weah is doing much for that country. It's a place of, lawlessness. It's a place like Armageddon. People just do what they want to do. Uh, every day, people are afraid. Corruption, just pervasive.
Uncontrollable.
It's just unfortunate, and it's bad for the country. It's bad for the country image, and we'll keep preaching this until he wakes up. He has to wake up. Even if he wins the presidency, 6 more years, will not stop talking until he does what he's supposed to do
Yes.
as a president.
Mhm.
Don't be playing around with the country's highest office, taking it for joke. This is a serious matter.
Mhm.
And when I go back and look at some of the clips of Liberia of old, our previous presidents and the way they carry themselves, the dignitaries, in the presence of dignitaries, world leaders. I haven't seen this with this president
Of course.
for the first time. Even President Dole, you could
Look,
see.
Volcano, and let me
What
say
kind
this
of
before.
president is this? What power saying so?
Pomelo, let me say this quickly before you go. Samuel Doe never had a quote unquote master's degree as George Weah claimed to. But when I was at the Ministry of Information, on a regular basis, we went to the executive mansion for news conferences hosted by Mr. Doe. He articulated those issues that he wanted to talk about. He knew what he was doing. You have somebody who has quote unquote master's degree, and he cannot even express himself at the level of a sixth grader, a very good sixth grader. And this is a man you want another 6 year again. I mean, where's Liberia headed to, my people? You know?
All right, man. We'll catch up, man. We'll catch
Sure,
up. Hopefully
sure,
Friday
yeah.
we'll discuss again.
Yeah,
by the
okay,
grace of
all right.
God.
It was a
Liberia is
pleasure,
our-
man. Bye bye.
Liberia is number one priority. It's not about a man. It's not about a political party. It's not about a group of people. It's about
Absolutely.
Liberia, and we'll
Yeah.
continue to talk.
Yeah.
I want to thank all of you for joining us here tonight in the Issues Room. Volcano Shelton Moses Sandy, Philadelphia, Newcastle, Delaware. We just covered an array of issues, but mainly corruption and the lack of President Weah's attention to this ingrained systemic curse on our country. It appears as though he's a participant because he continues to allow people who've been questioned about corruption to remain in public office, conflict of interest everywhere, and yet he hasn't done anything about it. And people think that, oh yes, it's Bekugbe. He is Liberia's best president, and they go around telling the emperor he's closed. but the period is naked. We'll be back here on Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 p.m. GMT. Good night.